Hi everyone, I'm Lynn, also known as the Wellbeing Lady, and I'm going to be recording a few little self-coaching guides for you, just to help you through some tricky times and just to help you really consider in life what you need to do and what your path is, etc. So I hope you find this one useful. This is all about the circle of control. I should also add that with me, what you see is what you get. I don't spend lots of time editing my videos. I just like to do it and get it out there. So, if there's any things that don't go right or I stumble over my words, that's just the way it is. So I hope you enjoy it. So first of all, then, I'm sure most of you have probably heard about Stephen Covey and his circle of concern and his circle of influence. And I've got his book on my bookshelf and I dip into it from time to time. It's really interesting. He distinguishes between the proactive people who focus on what they can do and can influence, and reactive people who focus their energy on things beyond their control. So you're probably thinking, as I say this, which one am I? And no doubt you're probably somewhere in the middle, because teachers are pretty adaptable types and they quite often are able to not catastrophize everything and not spiral into a panic if there's something that they can't control. However, we do have those times when that happens, and we just do have to take stock and remember things that we can control and things that we can't control and things that we can influence. So in general, people who focus on things that they can control can have a more positive outlook. And this is a skill. It can be practiced. If you draw your own circle, you can have a go at doing this. And on the next slide, I'll show you how I've taken that a little bit further. So for me, this looks like the control section, things I can control. So I can control what time I go to bed, so I'm less tired. I don't take any notice of my own advice, but I can control that. So that is down to me. Whether I drink enough water, so I've got my water here, and this is yesterday's water. So you can see that I'm not doing very well there, but I've got good intentions, and that is, again, down to me. If I'm setting healthy boundaries for work-life balance. So ultimately, it's in my control. It is my choice. However, I can appreciate that quite often there's other influences at play there. So that leads me on to the circle of influence. So for example, my workload versus hours in my working day, always a contentious issue. So you might be thinking that you've got a lot on at the moment and there's no way you can fit it all in. You can influence this by making the right noises to the right people. Whether they take any notice of you is another matter. So that is your circle of influence, because you do have a degree of control over that. What my children eat and where. My children are getting older. They are 10 and 5. So particularly my 10-year-old, I'm having less and less control and more negotiation. So no doubt that will continue in the future. How I disagree with something in a staff meeting in order to make a positive change. So I can influence this for good, hopefully, and I can consider how I'm going to phrase my point. I can make it constructive. I can't really control how someone reacts to that, but I can do my bit to try and influence things. That's in my circle of influence. And in my circle of concern, so things that might keep me up at night occasionally, might make me worry unnecessarily, but ultimately things I can't really do much about. So examples here, the state of education. I'm desperate in my small way to make a stand against it, because I'm sick of it. But I can happily rant on about it for ages, but I'm a very small person, and although I have some influence, which I'll continue to try and make, it's a very small amount of influence. I can't really control it, just me on my own. So if my kids eat enough veg with their school dinners, as I know from working in a school, those MDAs don't have enough time to work out which children are eating their vegetables and which aren't. So I do spend my time thinking, are they eating enough vegetables? It's not like they're going to tell me the truth. So are they eating enough veg? I've got to let it go. Doesn't matter. It's there on the plate. If they eat it, they eat it. If they don't, they don't. The way my friend acts when someone offends her. So you can try and phrase whatever you want to say to your friend, or someone else might phrase something to your friend in a constructive manner as far as possible, or they might be blunt. but you can't control how he or she responds to that. So their behaviour is their choice. And also an earthquake in another country. So it's very difficult, isn't it, to switch off from these things that are going on in the world. But ultimately, that is in your circle of concern. You don't have any direct control over that. So I'd go a step further, and I'd like to remodel this concept as a model with more overlapping parts, as we know, nothing fits neatly into these three circles. No one has full control over anything, and it's very unlikely that we're going to have zero control over anything either. So I've made a taking back control continuum. So you might want to make one of these yourself and then plot some things on it. So here are some statements, and I've plotted where they fit on my scale. So you can see my circle of influence is larger than the other two circles. Most of my issues fit in here, as I could have a small degree of control or I could have a larger degree of control. So there's some overlapping there. So what my children eat, I still have a relative amount of influence over that. And my workload versus hours in my working day, it feels like I don't have that much influence over it at all. So I've put that a little bit further along. At the same time, whether I drink enough water, full control over that one, that's down to me. And the earthquake, practically zero control, apart from sending positive thoughts to people that are suffering at these times. Not a lot of control over that. So issues, of course, such as workload can go up or down, continuing depending on external factors. And the bottom line is there are always choices. So you might not have much control over the way your friend acts, but you can set yourself some healthy boundaries. For example, you might have an unsympathetic line manager, doesn't support you, but bottom line is you do have choices in every situation. So you could look for work elsewhere. And I know that turning it into something that simplistic is tricky, because obviously there's a lot at play. You know, there's money, there's feelings, there's all sorts of things, and these decisions are often very challenging. So I completely support that. Even though you always have choices, they're not easy choices, but that is the bottom line. So thank you for listening, and I hope that helped some of you. Let's move my face over here. So there's lots of ways that you can follow along. So this was on YouTube on my page, so feel free to like, subscribe and share. And lots of ways to find me. I'm at positiveyoungmind.com. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, on Facebook. Facebook is my favourite, Positive Young Minds on there. And of course, my coaching group is facebook.com. Groups Coaching for Teacher Wellbeing, bit of a mouthful there. So please feel free to follow along. I'll be posting other snippets as well as the group meet once a month for a friendly chat with other people who are going through similar issues to you at the moment. And I'm also going to be, I have embarked on self-employment. So I'm going to be doing in the future life coaching and bespoke school visits and things like that. I'm just sorting out my website pages for that. So thank you very much. As always, I'm always willing to listen to feedback, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day and look forward to connecting with you soon.